And now it's time to check out our Frenzy Faves. Not just another comic brigade. These are our Frenzy Faves.
Once again, today our Frenzy Faves is a favorite Twilight Zone episode.
Chris, tell us about the episode we're looking at today.
Thanks, Prof, for this one. We've got a good one. It's called A Game of Pool. This was from Season 3, Episode 5. It was directed by Buzz Kulick. It was written by George Clayton Johnson. And for our cast, talented cast as it is, we just had two guys. Jack Klugman, the great Jack Klugman as Jesse Cardiff, and the fantastic Jonathan Winters as James Howard Fats Brown. Whew, Prof, could you please tell me and the listeners about A Game of Pool?
Tell you, if you're going to have two actors in a story, these are the two actors to have.
Indeed.
So this is kind of a bottle episode, and the bottle is a pool hall. Jesse Cardiff is playing pool all alone in the pool hall late at night. He's a great pool player, the best around. But a long time ago, there was one Fats Brown, the greatest pool player of all time. Jesse is angry that he can't play against Fats to prove that he, not Fats, is the best pool player. He says he would give anything to play Fats. In heaven, at a pool table, a large man gets paged to go to a pool hall. He packs up his cue and takes off. And back at the pool hall, the great Fats Brown arrives. It takes some time to convince Jesse that he really is the old-timer, but he does. They decide to play a game of pool to determine who is the best player of all time. If Jesse wins, he will be known as the greatest player, but if he loses, he will die. Jesse decides to take the bet. They play a very tough game of pool, and it comes down to a single ball. Fats misses the shot, and it sets Jesse up for an easy shot. Fats tries to psych Jesse out. It works a little bit, but he is ultimately able to pull off the shot. Now he knows, and he will be known as the greatest pool player of all time. But rather than being upset, Fats is relieved. You see, whenever you're the best at something, you have to wait around in some kind of heavenly purgatory until someone better comes around and can prove that they're the best. Now, we fast forward some years and we see Jesse playing at that heavenly pool table. Jesse Cardiff, heaven's greatest pool player of all time. I like this episode. I love these actors. It wasn't really a blow me away type story like some Twilight Zone episodes, but more of a quiet one, a kind of a personal story. And like I said before, if you're going to have a small cast, this is the cast to have. Klugman, in my opinion, is one of the finest actors to ever be on TV, particularly. But it was also delightful seeing Jonathan Winters playing a straight role. He wasn't his crazy, kooky, mad world self. He was just a guy in a suit and, upstanding guy, not telling dumb jokes all the time. I wish he did more of this because he was really, really good. There is a gleam in Jonathan Winters' eye that you just can't resist. What an actor. Now, this episode was released the same year as that Paul Newman, Jackie Gleason movie, The Hustler, and I'm thinking there might have been some interplay or influence from that movie onto this production. I really dug this. I think there was a little bit... these Twilight Zone episodes tend to be like 20, 22 minutes long of story. This one, I think, had a little less story than 22 minutes. I think it could have been a shorter story. I know that doesn't fit in the TV, time sequence. But I think there was a little repetition in this to kind of pad it out a little bit. But that doesn't, that's just the economics of television and the standards of television. This was a really good story, and I thoroughly enjoyed A Game of Pool. What do you think, Chris?
Prof, I totally enjoyed it. I thought this was a masterclass of acting on both Winters and Klugman. It was just outstanding. I can't see anybody else in these roles. Winters is known as a comedian, and he just relishes this role. And I think there was such concern that I think he had taking this part on that if he could pull it off. I think I read it somewhere, and he does it masterfully. It was really, really good. Just a personal quick story, too. I was on a communications class in St. Louis when I was in college, and somehow the conversation we talked about, there was like an ad agency and they hired Winters to be in this commercial, and Winters did the commercial. They got all the takes they needed done right away and so fast that afterward, Winters was just joking around with everybody that was still on the set, and he had the floor rolling in stitches. He was doing all this improv work, and it just went, it lasted like, much more than the time that they needed. Winters just kind of hung around afterward and just had everybody rolling with laughter. He was sort of that guy, he was just doing some stuff, the improv right there on the set. It was fantastic. They said it was just a joy to be around him and just to watch him work and just to marvel and just him sharing his laughter with everyone. And it was just such a huge gift and talent that this guy had. Just phenomenal. Jack Klugman, talented actor for Twilight Zones. He was in this one. As previously mentioned, he was in A Praise for Pip, A Passage for a Trumpet, and Death Ship. One of my favorite lines that he delivers here is when he's talking to Winters, "You're a big balloon waiting for someone to stick a needle in you. Well, I'm the someone, and here's the needle." I just love that line. It's really good. And I love the way he does it. Klugman, just right out of the gate, you get mesmerized by this performance, and you could see what this means to him. Just the passion that he has for the game, and just that he wants a shot at the best. And, he just is sort of resigned that he's never going to get it. He wants it so bad, and there it is. He has a moment to play the best in what it is. And I like the lines and some of the little moments that this issue has. These two guys have to carry the whole half hour, but it's the moments. It's, Klugman says, "Hey, you're just living on a reputation. You can't do all of these things that you're purported to have done." And there's a little bit where you see that Winters' character does something a little dirty. He just kind of distracts Klugman, and then he kind of shrugs it off, saying, "Oh, a little sportsmanship." It's like, "Oh, that was a mean thing. I thought better of you to do that." And just with the moment where Klugman can't believe he's right on the verge of beating the guy. He just can't believe the moment is right there at hand, and you don't want him to miss the shot. But then Winters says something, and he says, "Well, if you do this, all that comes with it." And he says, "I'm obligated to say that." And as a kid, that kind of, I wonder what he meant. But as I grew, it got to be, the problem is when you're the best, you have to keep proving yourself, and it's just a struggle. Always to prove yourself, always to prove yourself, always to prove yourself. It's like, and now he doesn't have to prove himself. He can go fishing, just like, which life is better? Which would you want? The stress of being that, or being one regarded as one of the all-time greats, but now relinquishing the throne and moving on and being able to relax, so you see the price it pays. I think it's a nice little morality lesson. I appreciate that. Prof, you mentioned The Hustler. That came across my mind. I think pool was sort of in the public consciousness back then as well. I remember a Dick Van Dyke episode where Robert Petrie's character is being hustled by one of Buddy's relatives. So this was sort of like one of the things back in the day with respect to that. Fantastic episode. I had a thought, but I lost it. But I think this isn't one of those twist ending episodes in the sense that there's nothing creepy. There's nothing really scary here. Oh, one other thing. I do remember what I was going to say. I was doing a little research for this episode, and I think one of the endings that Johnson had was that Gleason's character Fats does win the title, but eventually, one of the characters dies, and then upon the death, then he relinquishes it. So I think there's another episode that was later done with Esai Morales where they reshot it with another alternate ending. So we get to see that how it could have played out. But I like this particular ending myself, and I think it's a good little bit of a lesson here. And I tried to equate it with other things that people could do, because maybe not see pool too often, but maybe darts, arm wrestling, tennis, auto racing. It makes you wonder what gets in somebody's head where they got to be the best in the world at a particular endeavor. And it's a really, really fascinating and a thought-provoking episode. I really, really enjoyed it. And you got two marvelous actors over the top just doing a great, great performance on both of them. Standout episode.
I totally agree. So this was one of our favorite Twilight Zone episodes. Just another These are our friends he paid.